Hello everyone, and let's get started with our streaming session. So I'm Stan, I will be your host today. So let's get started. I hope that you hear me well, that you see the broadcasting. So we got chat here, so I remind you guys that we got chat on YouTube. So whenever you have any questions, you can put them in chat, so I will be happy to answer your questions here. All right, so that's a streaming time. Opening bell. All right, we'll put the bell right here to remind us that we are actually the trading stream. All right, guys. So yeah, I'm Stan. So I'm a trader since 2004. In this streaming session, I will share with you some insights, ideas, potential developments of narratives. So we will try to tune in today's markets, in the markets of this week, and try to find any meaningful ideas or build any scenarios and make a homework, if you will. So we are not doing any live trading. I mean, we are not pushing buttons buy and sell, because I need to make a disclaimer. We actually are not giving you any trading or investment advices. So whatever you hear today, so that's my personal opinion. So that doesn't have to do anything with any recommendations, with any trading advices. So every trade is responsible for making one's trading decisions. All right, so I will read chat here from time to time. Chandan, so the first time in chat, hello. So yeah, please tell us where you're from. So which city, country are you watching this stream from? So usually we got people from all over the world here on our streaming sessions. All right, so without further ado, let's get started with the broadcasting. Let's get started. So I will show you some, sorry, one sec, that's another bug of OBS software. All right, so one sec. Okay, so sorry, I will switch to the market analysis section. All right, guys, so one second, please. I will restart the OBS display capture. All right, so now it should be clear. So you should see the Exness terminal. You should see the Exness terminal, okay? All right, so yeah, let's get started with benchmarks. And we are starting with US dollar index here. And see what has happened throughout the previous week. So yeah, US dollar index. So daily chart. So it's under pressure, as you see. So nothing has changed here yet. As the market is still under pressure. So yeah, it's kind of rebounding right now a little bit, but the overall destination of the market is down. Joyce is with us. Hello, Joyce is our loyal listener. So on every stream, Nairobi, Kenya. Nice to see you here. Yeah. So all right, let's move on. Let's start with the economic calendar for this week. For today, today is Tuesday, June 3, 2025. Summer markets, guys. So summer markets usually are slow, sporadic. So this type of action, when you don't see any meaningful price action, don't see any meaningful volumes, there is old adage, sell in May and go away. And that might be true for today's markets, because you see that the price action is pretty muted. Some action is still visible, and some action is still visible, particularly for gold, for NASDAQ, but the overall tempo, as you see, is pretty slow. It's pretty muted, okay? Okay, A.H. Nabil, Dhaka, Bangladesh. Hello, Bangladesh. Hello, Dhaka. Nice to see you here too. All right. Scrolling down, of course, these are several events which we will monitor throughout this week. So, of course, there is a ISM Services PMI, which is going to be published today. So Services PMI. Yesterday it was Manufacturing PMI. It was slightly lower than anticipated. So if we scroll it higher, And yeah, there was actually, it was actually Monday, right? So ISM was published. So let's put yesterday here. I wanted to show you specifically this publication. So that was ISM index publication. ISM manufacturing PMI, the actual was 48.5 versus 49.5 forecast. What does that mean basically? Well, that means that the economy is slightly slower than anticipated. So usually it has some connection with S&P 500 index. We on a scale of between 1 and 3 months, maybe 6 months. So S&P 500 index has some correlation with ISM indicator, especially if you consistently have this indicator pushing below 50. So that's a sign of weakness, and that's a sign of recessional signal, potential recessional signal. Maybe that's not the case, right? We might not have the recession, but we have these indicators which are, for example, manufacturing PMI and services PMI, which might be actually slightly better. But ISM manufacturing is below 50, which points to a potential weakness of the economy. However, this is a poll, guys. So that's a sentiment indicator that's measured by the poll. So they basically call the manager, the purchasing manager, and they ask, so how do you feel about the economy? How do you feel about the business activity? So, and the managers, they respond, so they make the index, and that's how it is calculated, right? On the other hand, last week we had pretty decent earnings for Nvidia stock. So meaning that it was the positive earnings surprise. So just take a look at what has happened. So there was a gap, there was a bullish gap for Nvidia. And yeah, now it's retracing a little bit, but the overall sentiment for stock market has been improving since then. So at least markets are not collapsing, at least they're holding well. Specifically, we're talking about NASDAQ, for example, US tech. So let's put it here and let's watch it closely. So NASDAQ is holding well, as you see. So yesterday there was a reaction from the 20-day moving average. So this rally, well, that's a range-bound consolidation, of course. That's a triangle, if you will. But NASDAQ is holding well. And Nvidia was responsible for keeping the rally. Okay? So we are holding pretty well, and the position of the price is near the 20-day moving average, which is the dynamic support. All right, so Nvidia was really earning surprise, and yeah, there was a positive effect for the market. Now let's quickly go through the CNN Fear and Greed Index. So I will just put it here in search, and let's click it here. CNN Fear and Greed Index. It is located in a neutral zone in comparison to greed zone, which it was located a week before. So currently, what has changed here? So we see that volatility is actually balancing between 20 and so on the border of 20. 20 is the threshold. That's a distinction between the level of fear being low and being actually high. So safe haven demand has diminished, or it has increased actually a little bit. So because bond markets, they reduced their yields a little bit, so that has happened. So currently, yeah, nothing else has changed actually. Stock price breadth and strength, they're keeping at a relatively good level, meaning that a lot of stocks are showing positive pace. A lot of stocks are going hand in hand with the market. All right, please share your opinion about gold. Let's talk gold. Okay, so everybody trades gold. We know that gold is a favorite instrument whatsoever with our traders. So let's put here. So let's remove unnecessary tabs here before we proceed. By the way, guys, so if you don't know this Exness terminal, so that's incredibly convenient. So you see that it looks mostly like a trading view, but you can put volumes here. You can calculate stop losses, take profit orders. So basically, yeah, that's super convenient. So check it out. Just if you wanna paper trade, for example, if you wanna register demo or anything, so you can do that. So Exness terminal is really convenient. So that's not an advertising. I really think so. All right, gold. Whatever, gold. So let's start with gold. Gold, as you see, had reached the 2 standard deviations level for the 20-day moving average area. So basically that's moving in an upswing right now. Why do we think that it's moving in an upswing? So just take a look at the market structure. So what is the upswing? The one upswing from the bottom, okay? Another correctional move to the downside. So one day is, probably it was Sunday, so it's not counting. 1, 2, 3, 4. There was again it was the reversal on the fourth day, meaning that we are still in an upswing. So upswing is not violated yet, so we are still in an upswing. However, the upswing is already coming closer to the upper border of the range. Meaning what? Meaning that, so that's a potentially problematic area. And we've seen that since the beginning of the day, by the way, on Asian sessions, so gold was a subject to the sell-off. So we've seen such, well, not a massive sell-off, but pretty solid price action. So, and all of a sudden, of course, you wanna know what to do here. All right, so what would I say? So usually when we're in an upswing, you can actually time a day trade. So basically, of course, the possibility of a day trade is pretty high. However, we have already been passed through the European session. So European session is already over, London opening I mean, so we are coming closer to the US session, and gold is still not responding. I think that today, this day will be probably doji or something like that, at least in the internal days, the so-called internal day. Usually when you got such big rallies like it was yesterday, like yesterday was a big day, then the day that follows this day might be the so-called internal day. Just take a look at what has happened previously. The big day up, it was May 23rd. So that was Friday. Monday, it's the internal day, okay? So the day with the small volatility. The days of big volatility are replaced with the days of small volatility. So probably we are entering the same action, the day of small volatility. So you might be, or you might want to trade gold actively, but there is very limited you can do in such a day. For example, today, right? Because that might be an internal day. But the good news is that the day which goes after the internal day might be the day again with a high volatility. So at least maybe if you have 2 days, 3 days of consolidation, then you got a breakout. So for traders, so I think that the current price action maybe today, tomorrow, might be the consolidation after the strong rally, because after this type of day, then we might retest the higher border of the Bollinger Bands again. So which is the 2 standard deviations level to the peak. Or maybe it might go down. We don't know the destination. It depends on the context. It depends on the development of the narratives. But currently, I'm pretty cautious on gold because, because actually, what's happening here is probably the consolidation. Just take a look every time, whenever it forms the big day. Just take a look at here, April 17th. Also, the same situation. Market touches the upper band of the Bollinger. The next 2 days is a consolidation again. Maybe one is Sunday, I don't know, but still one day at least is a consolidation. So many cases, in many cases, the same dynamics is visible over the charts of gold. So I would be careful. I will be sitting back, relaxing, taking a deep breath, and viewing the price action, viewing what's gonna happen. So probably if we will extrapolate our view on gold, we might have something like that. On an American session, it might retrace, then it might consolidate, something like that. All right, some action like that. Maybe looking in some triangle or in some formation might be visible. So if you're a day trader, you can absolutely capture something here. That might be small. The possibility might be not very elongated. So you may capture something, but you gotta get out quickly, I think, at least for today. All right, what is more interesting than gold today, I think, is crude oil. Why is that? So let me show you some logic. The crude oil basically was shaking off the volatility. So just take a look at the interesting situation of the crude oil. Average true range indicator is pointing down to another low, yet another low, right? So that's close to the new bottom for ATR, for volatility. So volatility is close to another low, and whenever that happens, market might shake the trading range, and it had actually started to do that. So yesterday again we got the market touching the upper band of the Bollinger. So now the next one is the bottom of the Bollinger. So the basic price action that might happen here is the expansion of volatility a little bit, so it goes like that, okay? There is no directional bias, but expansion of volatility might be visible, meaning that crude oil, for example, is responsible for making big days, big advancements, big days. So for example, we might potentially, I don't say that's for sure, but potentially we might be at the beginning of such a day. So at least what I would not do for crude oil today, I would not go long, because we can be in expansion mode. In comparison to gold, which is in a contraction mode, crude oil, it might be in expansion mode. So after touching the higher border of the Bollinger, it might expand. So might be to the downside, or American session might accelerate it. So now it's, leaning to the lower border of the Bollinger. So it's leaning lower. That's not a good trade location, of course, but for example, if you see some pullback, some retest, so that might be potentially the entry point if you're day trading. So if you're trading within a day. So, but the interesting observation is actually in a potential expansion mode. Volatility is bottoming, so we are at the bottom of the volatility cycle. In comparison to gold, by the way, which is let's put ATR here, which is at the top of the volatility cycle. Okay, so for weekly, for daily, which we are closer also to the bottom. Not there yet, but we are heading to the bottom. But that's a local bottom, guys. So that's bottom for April. That's not a huge situation, meaning that in order to establish the meaningful trend, gold probably needs to, volatility for gold probably needs to decrease a little bit. So that would be the indication that the instrument is ready for the bigger move, something like that, okay? Whenever you have lower volatility, so it may actually expand. And what is more interesting than crude oil and more interesting than gold, I think, is, so please give me an answer in chat. What do you think might be more interesting in terms of several factors? Fundamentals, technicals, cyclical indicators. So what do you think? So give me an answer. Let's play guess what instrument we will have, okay? While you're thinking, so give me a couple of answers. What do you think is more interesting? So guys, you make a research, you make an analysis, you make a homework. Have you seen anything interesting so far on the currency market? So the small clue, it's from the currency market. While you're answering, so let me read some answers in chat. Calcutta, India, Chandan, welcome. Delhi, India. All right, so India, a lot of people from India. That's good. Are you guys actively trading there? Well, I guess so, because we got a lot of people from the region. All right, so anyway, I'm thinking that anything related to Japanese yen might be interesting, and here's why. I will explain you why. For example, GBP JPY. All right, so as you see, we got the yen, right? Exactly, Joyce. Congratulations. The yen. Why is that? Just take a look at this situation, the volatility cycle. For example, for GBP JPY, it's basically at the annual bottom. Volatility cycle at the annual bottom, so it's bottoming, meaning that everybody is thinking, okay, so we will not trade the yen. So what's the point? Because the volatility is very low. But that is the moment when the breakout is closed. The breakout of volatility is closed. I don't think about USD JPY because it's pretty controversial, because American dollar is always under pressure now, but against GBP, against euro, so yen might be weakening. Currently. Well, that's not visible right now because actually yields of government bonds of Japan have been increasing for many days already. So but what we've been observing so far, large financial institutions, for example, insurance companies in Japan, had started to diminish their hedges, so they are not betting on the yen's surge anymore. So again, so what else do we see? So the net position of commercial trade is at the bottom. So speaking of, for example, so let's go to barchart.com, go to futures, go to commitment of traders, and you will see actually a pretty interesting situation here.